So I got asked a question the other day that really made me stop and think. And that question was, how did you actually know what you wanted to do with your life? How did you know when you'd found your calling, as I like to call it? And being completely honest, I hadn't even ever sat and thought about it, because I think we're all programmed to think that the starting point of any success in life comes down to goal setting. But in reality, that is actually step two. Before you set a goal, or write a mission statement, or map out your next 5-year plan, whatever that may look like for you, you have to do this one single thing first, and that is get clear on your values as a person. Because if you don't, you can very easily end up chasing a goal that really doesn't mean anything to you. So if you skip this step, you risk spending your life building success that might look impressive on the outside but feels very empty on the inside, purely because it doesn't align or bring you any fulfillment. And that's why I call alignment the first step of transformation. And by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to uncover your values and how to start building goals that don't just look good on paper, but give you something that is actually worth sacrificing for. Most high performers never actually do this work, and that was me included. We set the goals, we hit the targets, earn the money, and tick every box that we think matters, only to then realize when you get there to that pinnacle, it doesn't quite feel like you imagined, all because it was never built on your values in the first place. And the truth is, without alignment as the foundation, all the discipline and focus in the world, it doesn't mean anything. And to put this into context, I want to share a story that brought me to this realization for myself. And that was the moment bodybuilding pushed me to breaking point. And I realized I was chasing values that weren't even mine anymore. I wasn't living from that internal alignment that I once was. I was basing my success on how big my arms were and a judge's scorecard. The best part, the second you understand your values, and I mean truly understand them, and start building from that point, everything just changes. Discipline gets easier because you've found something that's actually worth sacrificing for. Productivity finally has a purpose, it has a meaning, and success actually feels like it should. So let me tell you my personal story. So rewind the clock. Classic bodybuilding prep, summer 2023. Prepping for Dubai Pro and Amateur Olympia Milan. This was the most aggressive diet of my entire life. 110 kilos down to 80 kilos, torture. 2 hours of Stairmaster a day, 0 carbs, 2 saunas morning and night. Even doing my steps walking around Dubai in a tracksuit in the middle of August just to make weight. Like, I was disciplined, but truthfully, I was absolutely off my head. And after the show came the post-show rebound. So 12 weeks after the show, I put 30 kilo on. I was eating 6,000 calories a day. My blood pressure was through the roof, resting heart rate, I don't even know where it was. My digestion was wrecked, back pumped so bad I couldn't even walk the dog without stopping. And then came the health scare that forced me to take a step back for probably the first time in nearly a decade. And I specifically remember sitting there one night, half asleep, halfway through a meal, genuinely gagging, trying to eat another bite of it, and just thinking to myself, like, what am I even doing? Why am I doing this? What is the actual point? And that's when I came to the realization that my values weren't really aligned anymore. Maybe they once were, but they certainly weren't anymore. And my whole life revolved around things that, let's be real, don't really matter. And I was literally killing myself. And I don't say that just for context, like, that was the truth. And it was taking over my life in so many negative ways. One of the worst being the fact I genuinely couldn't stay awake. And when I say I couldn't stay awake, I'm talking consistent food comas. I could fall asleep sending a voice note, like mid-voice note, driving the car. Like, it got dangerous. And let me be clear when I tell you this story. This isn't me slating bodybuilding, because it gave me more discipline than anything in my life to this date. And it gave me the life that I've now got. And I'm forever grateful for that. But after a while, that discipline of chasing the wrong things gave me a realization. And it was what started the 6-month transformation that I've documented throughout this channel. And that's what led me to create the Coach Creator and start Built Different, because the realization I had came down to one thing. I had the most fulfillment and was the most aligned when I was just helping other people. That's all I wanted. So I reoriented my entire life around that one thing. And it was only then, when everything just changed for me, it gave me a new level of purpose that I genuinely never had before. Nothing felt forced anymore. And even the hard things, they didn't quite feel the same. Because when you're aligned, and I mean truly aligned, the hardships no longer feel hard. And everything finally starts feeling like it actually makes sense. So the very simple lesson in this is alignment has to be your start point. Not goals, not strategy, not even discipline and focus. It has to be all about your values to begin with, because without it, I don't care how successful you might look on the outside, or maybe you temporarily feel in a moment. One day you will wake up and you will feel empty on the inside. And trust me, that feeling is a hard one to process, especially when you realize you have wasted so much time chasing something that was never meant for you in the first place. And most high performers never stop long enough to ask themselves, what do I actually value? What actually lights me up inside? If I was to leave the world tomorrow, what do I want to be remembered for? What is my legacy? And that's why the wins never really feel like wins, because it's not coming from fulfillment or alignment. And the decisions have no direction. Alignment can become our greatest teachers, because the moment you step into alignment and set goals that actually resonate, this one thing almost always happens. And that is that the fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs almost instantly set in and come to the surface. These are all the things which tell you why you maybe can't hit that new goal that you've set. And you might think that that's a bad thing, but trust me, you've just got to reframe it. If you gain that awareness of the things that are actually holding you back in real time, you now know exactly the things that you need to work on to make that goal happen. And that becomes the mindset work you need to build frameworks around. So if you are truly serious about following your passion, and I mean really, really serious, this has to be your first step. Overcoming the mental barriers, which from my experience are the biggest thing which stop people achieving what they're actually capable of. It's never a strategy, it's never the skills, it's never knowledge, but their own limits that they place on themselves from a mental standpoint. And if I was to say the three most common limitations that this comes down to, number one would be fear. And that fear is, if we truly ask ourselves, what is it that we want? That's when the fear comes to the surface. And the question I like to ask is, what would you do if you weren't afraid, if there were no consequences to your actions? In most cases, more often than not, when we reveal our true values, we come to the realization that those values don't match the life that we're probably currently living. Secondly, we've got limiting beliefs, or what I call imposter syndrome. Things like, I can't get paid for what I love doing. I'm not good enough. So instead, we settle for what feels comfortable or familiar, or maybe what society tells us that we should want. And finally, what we call brain bias, which is the limbic part of our brain that would rather keep you in a place of familiarity rather than take a risk and chase fulfillment, as that almost always comes with a level of uncertainty and the fear of the unknown. And that is a process that happens subconsciously. We don't even consciously think about it. It's just hardwired into our DNA, and neuroscience proves it. Because with every thought we have, we release chemicals. That's what creates our emotions. And over time, just like with any chemical or drug, the body gets addicted to them, both in a good and a bad way. So even if the emotions are somewhat negative, your system associates them to a level of familiarity and a level of comfort. So in simple, we are physically addicted to an endogenous release of chemicals, just like if an addict was addicted to drugs. So our body is constantly just pulling us back to this place of familiarity. And that is exactly why you keep chasing the same empty goals. But these three things right here become our moral compass. You have to pay attention to them, but more importantly, learn to work through them. So when I show you the framework to set those new goals for yourself, don't let fear talk you out of them when the goal hits you. Don't let the voices in your head tell you that you're not good enough. Alignment isn't ever about removing fear. It's about learning to move through it, because your why means so much to you now, and the sacrifices are ones worth making. So now for the golden question. I know you're all probably sat there right now thinking, this all sounds good and well, Joe, but how do I actually find this thing that you call alignment? How do I actually know what I want to do? And for me, it started with the Ikigai framework. And yes, I am probably pronouncing that very wrong, but either way, it's a Japanese concept that translates to reason for being. And it's built on a very simple but powerful question framework. Number one is, what do I love doing? Number two, what am I naturally good at? Number three, what does the world need right now? What is in demand? And number four, what can I actually be paid for? And the overlap between those four quadrants, that's what we call your alignment. That is what is your North Star, essentially, everything that you then work towards. And when you ask yourself these questions, the chances are you're not going to all of a sudden just figure it out, and it's not going to happen overnight. Like, it took me the best part of 6 months, and that was the time where I shifted my whole identity away from bodybuilding that I've openly documented throughout these episodes. But if it takes you a long time to realize it, don't worry, that is completely normal, because alignment isn't just found in a moment. It's built over time when you learn to understand who you really are and what means the most to you. But the more you start asking yourself these questions, the more the answers will show up. The more you focus on the things that you want, the more creative you become. It's when the ideas just start clicking and opportunities start appearing and the right people just show up in your life almost automatically. And believe me when I say this, it's not a coincidence. That's what alignment should feel like. Because when you shift your focus in the right direction, life has a very, very funny way of just opening doors that you never even knew existed. And once you get clear on this framework, every decision from that point just gets easier to make, because with every step, you simply ask yourself, does this opportunity that's presented align to my values? Yes or no? Does this goal serve my higher purpose that I'm working towards? Yes or no? Does this take me one step closer to the person that I want to be in the future and the life that ultimately I want to create for myself? Yes or no? And that's the power of finding your why. It gives you so much clarity. It doesn't remove the hard work, but it gives meaning to every single bit of it. So it doesn't feel hard anymore. So this is your task for this week. I want you to map out this framework for yourself. Grab a piece of paper, draw 4 circles and label them. You might have to Google it so you can imagine this. And do what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can actually be paid for. And then, like I said, this will form your North Star. And then I want you to write your honest answers for each of these 4 different questions. And when I say honest, that's not what looks good on Instagram or what society tells you should want for yourself, not what other people expect of you, not what feels comfortable. It's what you genuinely want. Then cross-check them against the life you are living. So look at your calendar, your habits, who and what you spend your time and energy with, and ask yourself, are you actually living in line with those values, or are you just chasing vanity metrics that don't really mean anything to you? And I promise, from what decisions I made, it will make things so much clearer, and the hard work, as I always say, it doesn't feel hard anymore. And that right there is where the transformation to your new life really starts. So remember, alignment is the first step you have to take. Without it, you're just working hard in the wrong direction. And maybe for a short while, it might feel like everything's fallen into place, but it never lasts. And that's not me being negative, it's being real. And that's why the Built Different mentorship starts right here. And next week, we move to step 2. How to start operating as the person who is already at that next level, where I will show you the exact mindset patterns I have seen personally working with the highest performers over the last 5 years. But until then, do the work and just remember, you don't build a life worth living by continuing to do what feels comfortable. You build it by pursuing what feels aligned, because we all get one shot at this crazy thing that we call life. And the only fear we should all collectively have is getting to the end of it and knowing that we didn't live it fully. And as always, if you rewire your mind, you redefine your future, because you are built different.